There are places in Scotland where the wind seems to remember. It carries the whispers of sorrow, the sighs of forgotten love, and the echo of tragedy long buried beneath the soil. Baldoon Castle, once a proud estate standing by the banks of the Bladnoch River, is one such place. The ivy now crawls across its broken walls. The air is heavy with damp moss and silence. And yet, there's a feeling that someone still walks there. Locals say that if you come at dawn, when the fog still clings to the ground, you might see her, Janet Dalrymple, the bride of Baldoon. She drifts across the ruined hallways, her gown pale as mist, her face hollowed by endless grief, and her hands stained crimson. Her story begins not with death, but with love. Janet was a daughter of Sir James Dalrymple, a respected man of law and reason, and Lady Margaret, a woman of stern pride and fierce will. In the halls of Dalrymple House, there was always an air of dignity, but little warmth. Among their family's many expectations, Janet was the brightest star, beautiful, gentle, and obedient. Yet, beneath her quiet smile lived a heart full of dreams. And in those dreams stood Archibald Rutherford, a man whose name her parents would never allow to be spoken aloud. Archibald was poor, a third son with no inheritance and fewer prospects. But he loved Janet with a purity that defied the cold rules of their world. They met in secret, beneath the old ash tree by the river, where the scent of wild heather filled the air and the night sky shimmered above them like scattered glass. "Janet," he once whispered, "will find a way, even if the whole world stands against us." But the world did stand against them. When her parents discovered their secret, their fury was swift and merciless. They called Archibald a dreamer, a fool, a man unworthy of their daughter's name. Janet pleaded. She cried. She even fell to her knees, but her mother's voice was as sharp as winter. "You will marry David Dunbar, the heir of Baldoon Castle. That is final." From that moment, something inside Janet began to die. She smiled less, spoke little, and wandered the gardens like a ghost who had not yet realized she was dead. On the night before her wedding, she met Archibald one last time. The moon was cold, the grass wet beneath their feet. "Janet," he said, "if you marry him, you'll kill us both." Tears ran down her face. "I have no choice," she whispered. "My life is not mine anymore." And when she turned away, neither of them knew it would be the last time their hearts would ever beat for one another. September 12, 1669. The grand hall of Baldoon Castle shimmered with candlelight and laughter. Musicians played sweet airs, nobles raised their goblets, and Janet, pale as frost, stood beside her groom, David Dunbar. Her smile was thin, brittle, like porcelain about to crack. She moved through the crowd as if trapped in a dream, her eyes distant, her hands trembling in her gloves. Those who watched her whispered quietly, "She looks frightened. She looks ill. Perhaps the poor dear is nervous." But none of them saw the silent horror in her eyes. When the festivities ended, the newlyweds were led to the bridal chamber. The heavy oak door closed behind them. Silence fell across the corridor. Then a scream. It shattered the stillness like lightning through glass. Another scream followed, then the sound of something heavy crashing to the floor. The family rushed to the door, but it was locked. "David!" cried Lady Margaret. "Janet, open this door." From within came only a soft, broken sound, a sob, low and trembling. Then silence. When they finally forced the door open, the candles inside flickered wildly, and horror filled the room. David Dunbar lay sprawled upon the floor, his chest soaked in blood. Janet was crouched in the corner, her white nightgown drenched in red, a knife trembling in her hand. Her eyes were wide, distant, as though she no longer saw the world before her. "Janet," her mother whispered, "what have you done?" But Janet did not answer. She only stared at her blood-stained hands, her lips trembling as she whispered name, "Archibald, he's here. He came for me." Some said she had gone mad. Others whispered that something darker had entered the room that night, something not of this earth. The servant spoke of a cold wind that swept through the halls before the screams began. One claimed to have seen a shadow, tall-horned and shifting like smoke, standing by the bridal bed. And though David Dunbar miraculously survived the wounds, He never spoke again of what he saw. His silence was heavy, haunted, as if the truth itself was too dreadful to name. Janet's mind shattered completely. She would not eat, would not sleep, only murmured to herself, "It wasn't me, it was him, the darkness." Within days, she was gone. Her body, fragile and pale, lay upon her bed as the dawn light touched her lifeless face. Some said her final words were, "I am free." After her death, Baldoon Castle was never the same. Strange cries echoed through its corridors at night. Guests would wake to the sound of footsteps outside their doors, though no one was there. The servants refused to enter the bridal chamber, claiming they could still smell iron and roses, blood and perfume in the air. Over the years, families abandoned the estate one by one. The windows shattered, the gardens grew wild, and ivy devoured the stone walls like a slow, creeping ghost. Those who dared to wander the grounds after midnight began to tell stories. They saw a woman in white walking through the courtyard, her gown torn, her hands red, her eyes filled with sorrow. Sometimes she would stop by the ruined doorway and whisper a name, Archibald. Sometimes she would vanish into the mist, leaving only the faint sound of weeping behind her. Locals began to call her the Bride of Baldoon, and they said her spirit would never rest, not until the truth of that night was known. Today, the ruins of Baldoon Castle lie silent beneath the gray skies of Scotland. Only fragments of its walls remain, covered in moss and time. But if you stand there, as the sun rises and the first light breaks across the fields, you might feel it, that strange, cold breath of the past. Some visitors claim to see her, a pale figure drifting across the stones, her nightgown fluttering like mist. Her face is not angry, but endlessly sad. She does not scream. She does not speak. She only wanders, searching for something she lost long ago. Love, perhaps, or peace. And so, the legend lives on, the story of Janet Dalrymple, the Bride of Baldoon, whose heart was torn between love and duty, and whose soul still walks the moors of Bladnoch, forever bound the night of her wedding, forever mourning the life that might have been. Because in Baldoon Castle, love did not die. It lingered, cursed, eternal, and unforgotten,